Now, here's Scott and Drew.
There it is. We're ready. We're ready to go. It's off and running. It's our Thursday edition of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. On 97.7 ESPN The Zone with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Welcome into what will be a fantastic Thursday show, as we have got a lot of great stuff, a lot of good stuff to get to today over the next 2 hours. And it all does start, and it centers around what will be another busy weekend of SEC football, another busy week of high school football, and you throw in some baseball along the way, and you throw in some other good stuff. It's going to set up for a great next 72 hours of sports. And coming up on Saturday right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone, Saturday night, primetime game. It is Alabama and Texas A&M. And something we did not get to mention yesterday was that we always talk about these preseason teams that are no longer ranked. Mm-hmm. And the list was bigger than I thought.
Right.
I thought, Drew, it was like 3 or 4 teams. But this is the list of this is why preseason rankings mean probably nil. Notre Dame was preseason ranked number 5.
Yeah, garbage.
Out of the polls. Texas A&M, preseason ranked number 6. Out of the polls.
Could see that coming from a mile away.
Oklahoma, preseason ranked number 9. Out of the polls.
Didn't quite see that precipitous of a fall so quickly, but certainly it happens. And when you play in the Big 12, that's why.
Baylor, preseason ranked number 10. Out of the polls.
That's what happens when you lose at BYU.
Michigan State, preseason ranked number 15.
Oh, lol.
Out of the polls.
I'm not even sure they'll go to a bowl at this point.
Miami, preseason ranked number 16. Out of the polls.
Boy, that NIL bowl, that's really looking good after that, huh? 2 good football teams.
Pitt, the defending ACC champs, number 17. Out of the polls.
Lost to Georgia Tech and not in a Scholars Bowl.
Wisconsin, number 18, preseason ranked.
That's why
out
the
of the
coach
polls.
is fired.
Arkansas, preseason ranked 19. Out of the polls.
That's not completely stunning just because they've had a very difficult schedule, and they should have beaten Dirt Neck.
And then finally, Houston, 24th ranked in the preseason, out of the polls. So that's the list of teams that started in the preseason, ranked inside the top 25, that are no longer there.
Yeah, but Kansas is, and this ain't a basketball scrimmage.
That is what's fun. If you go then and you look at teams that were not in there that are there now, and you look at those, and then the expectations start to click in. LSU was not there. They are now number 25. Mississippi State was not in there. They are number 23.
Yeah.
Syracuse, I don't believe, was in the preseason rankings. They're in there at number 22. Kansas is at number 29. You got other ones that are in there as well. But the one that's not in there is Texas A&M, and they come to Tuscaloosa on Saturday. And I know we have given Dirt Neck a lot of grief on this show, but they have the capabilities because they have SEC athletes. They have the capabilities of coming in here on Saturday and knocking off Alabama. They do, because that's why you line it up. That's why you play it. And Texas A&M has athletes to do that. But their offense last year under Zach Calzada is outperforming their offense this year with either Hayes King or Max Johnson at quarterback. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah, because first of all, I mean, they had Aniyah Smith available for the whole season. They had Isaiah Spiller to go along with Javon A-Chain as well. They had I believe Jalen Werdermeyer, the tight end, before he went undrafted after playing for a doofus. They had him on the squad, so they had a more talented team last year offensively. They're still talented on defense. They also, people haven't talked about this. They lost Mike Elko. He's a good coach.
Yes.
Good defensive coordinator, doing a good job at Duke. So, they lost some pieces, man. They lost some talent. They lost, some coaches. And so, again, that's why A&M's struggling a little bit. And, again, in this NIL era, you have to balance your roster. And if you're paying freshmen a bunch of upfront money, man, I'm telling you, it's why Nick Saban tried to tell everybody it wasn't sustainable. And then you had, Dirtneck out there running around saying Saban was a narcissist and to mind his own business and all this stuff. Well, who's the smartest now? He tried to tell everybody. He wasn't. Look, man, he just was telling the truth, and a bunch of propagandists didn't like it. Okay? Right. That's basically the way it is. And he's doing it for not – everybody's talking about he's doing it for the good of everyone, not just his own program, because he, like he was saying, the model is not sustainable. Everybody, as he put it, the haves and the have-nots, and Alabama's one of the haves. But he was just trying to let folks know, even though you have a program that's supported extremely well financially, that's not going to work. Like, in other words, this is not the NFL. It's a business, no doubt, but they have a salary cap in the NFL, but they also have a caste system. Okay, the quarterbacks make the most money, and then the left tackles and all. But and it might work in the NFL, but even then, that's why it's so uneven.
Yeah, like
you never know who's going to win a game, who's going to be motivated to play. The NFL is unpredictable. College football. It can be, and that can be, the upsets are great, but most of the time, as we've seen, you usually have an idea who the top, 15 to 20 teams are going to be nearly every season, especially the top 10 lately, yes, and the college football playoff teams. But he was just letting folks know, like, you can't sustain it doing this because it's not doable. Because you'll have guys that, again, don't want to show up, don't want to play hard, and there's going to be a lot of jealousy and infighting because, again, it's tough when a receiver shows up and he's making $800,000 and the other guys in the room, like an Anais Smith or others, aren't making nearly that much money. They're getting something, obviously, from NIL, and they're trying to take care of them. But, again, kids talk and all that kind of stuff, and it's just not a sustainable model. And, to be honest, though, the biggest reason it's not sustainable is because Jimbo's not a very good coach. His playbook hasn't changed since 1998, and he doesn't realize that. He's kind of caught in a time warp. We joked about it being Quantum Leap remake.
Yeah.
He hasn't changed with the times. He's always been overrated when it comes to developing quarterbacks. If you go back and look at how they transitioned to the NFL, look, Nick Saban has had, I don't know how many offensive coordinators during his time. They change every other year at least. And now with the way as good a recruiter as Saban is now, but it goes twofold though. You have to be able to recruit and then develop. Right. Now, and I've said that Jimbo can recruit. That's a fact. He still has enough dudes in the NFL, even if they don't go in the first round, to see that he has good players.
Yes.
But the development part has been lacking because he's had all these QBs go in the first round and they all flop.
Well, last year with Zach Calzada at the helm, they had a QBR rating of 120.86.
Yeah, and see, they keep trying to – and see, what's real funny about that? They keep saying, well, he wasn't that good. We had one propagandist on our show that was on it for several years, and he kept telling us last year that look, Zach Calzada's got as good an arm as Brett Favre, but there was something missing. He just kept saying that at times he didn't play well. Good Lord, he looks like Brett Favre compared to what they've had this year.
Yeah, they averaged 1.55 touchdown passes per game with Zach Calzada. With Haynes King or Max Johnson this year, 0.75 touchdown passes per game. The 30-yard passes per game last year was .91. This year, it's .50.
Yeah, I mean,
so the offense has taken a step back, regardless of whether or not. Zach Calzada may not have been flashy.
He was better than Haynes King,
and yes.
And then Max Johnson, we've seen him do well at LSU, and he was being efficient at A&M, but now he's injured. So we don't know how he was going to continue to progress.
So we've talked a lot about the offense and how the offense for Texas A&M is coming in. It's wounded. It's wounded right now.
Right.
Defensively, though, last year, this Texas A&M defense did frustrate Alabama a little bit last year in Kyle Field. It gave Alabama some problems. The offensive line for Alabama did not play very well against this Texas A&M team
which
last
was
year.
A microcosm of the whole season.
Right.
And then you had guys like Jaleel Worthless who couldn't run a route.
Does Texas A&M, which, by the way, comes in 22nd in the country in total defense right now, which
they're not bad.
It sounds good, but in the SEC, that's sixth best. I mean, that tells you how good defense has been in the league this year.
They're in the middle of the pack. Now, they're capable.
Right. I'm saying, what are they going to have this year? What can Texas A&M frustrate this Alabama defense or offense this year? Can they do what they did last year? Can they duplicate the pressure and getting to whoever is at quarterback for Alabama, Bryce Young or whoever? Can they frustrate this Alabama offense?
They have enough talent. I mean, they have a deep defensive line rotation, and they should. It's the highest paid group in college football. They've got some talent at linebacker. They've got talent in the secondary. I think their defense, it hasn't been great. It hasn't been dominant, but it's certainly kept them in games. Now,
they only give up 16 points a game.
They did get pushed around, in the second half against, Appalachian, which is the reason they lost that game.
Right.
I mean, and their offense was terrible because they just didn't sustain enough. And, but Appalachian dominated the time of possession because they won the battle in the trenches. And if you go back and look at that Arkansas game, look, only turnovers really stopped Arkansas. And that's what A&M's going to have to do to Alabama. They're going to have to turn Alabama over. And if, Jalen Milroe is getting his first career start, he's extremely inexperienced. He's only played in one game that mattered, and that was last week for 2.5 quarters. That's what they'd have to hang their hat on.
What does your gut tell you about that quarterback spot? What does your gut say right now?
I think it's going to be Jalen Milroe. I don't think that Bryce is going to be ready. We will see. Probably know more later today about how that's looking. But I would imagine that Alabama is going to rest Bryce Young and try to have him ready for Tennessee, because Tennessee is the antithesis of A&M. They don't have as good a defense as A&M does, but boy, they can score. I mean, they have a good quarterback, a really good quarterback, who I don't care what the NFL people say. They keep talking about measurables and he doesn't have this and that. That gets you fired, man. Okay, just look at the results. The guy's thrown 40-something touchdowns and 2 picks in 2 years. And you keep trying to, Will Levis is 6'2", 235, and I just watched him throw against air for 45 yards. Yeah, but when it mattered against Ole Miss, what did he do? Pucker, 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 and then turn the ball over. Okay? Because he fumbled, he held on to the ball too long. I don't care if he's out of central casting. It doesn't matter. He can't play. I mean, and I'm not going to say he can't play. He's a good player, but he's not. And he's a draftable player. But I'm just saying, if you're thinking about drafting the guy in the top 15, I think that's lunacy, because he's not shown top 15 ability. You don't play football against air, man. You don't play football. It's not 7-on-7. That's practice. We're talking about practice. Not a game, practice.
Channeling in your AI.
Yeah, you have to play the game. And that's what I'm saying. Now, if it was a 7-on-7, Levis would probably look great because he would throw it the farthest with the most velocity, probably be accurate. But watch what happens during the game. It's what I got frustrated with in the offseason. A lot of people were like, well, if you look at Will Levis, he has more upside than Bryce Young. Man, give yourself a lobotomy, man. There isn't even a comparison between the two quarterbacks. It's not even close. I don't care if Bryce Young's 3 inches shorter. I don't care if Will Levis can throw the ball 20 more yards. Can he hit a target? Can he process information? Does he protect the football? No, and no. So all that does is get people fired. Then you have Mike Tannenbaum on ESPN instead of running his own team because he blew it repeatedly. Okay? All these folks that's on ESPN working as analysts, it's because they got fired in the league.
Yeah.
Because they failed. They failed. Okay? But, it happens. But sometimes I don't think these folks learn. You know what I'm saying? You don't learn. Like Tony Romo played forever in the league. He was not a high draft pick. Okay? He wasn't a first rounder. But he could play. And Bill Parcells figured that out because Bill Parcells would know a football player. Some of these fools would not. They couldn't evaluate their rear end. Because all they care about is arm strength and,
right.
And the size and what does he look like, blah, blah, blah. Just watch the tape. Stop trying to nitpick it. Well, he may have maxed himself out. Well, he can play, though, and he will help you win. And see, to me, I don't think there's a lot of coaching up in the NFL, Scott, okay? There's not.
Right.
There's not a lot of that. You look at it. There was people questioning Tua. He came back from a car wreck-like hip injury.
Right.
And people are like, man, he just doesn't look that good, man. Why isn't he tearing it up as a rookie? He's lucky to be walking. But again, they want you to hit the ground running in the NFL.
Well, they do.
It's not about development, and they don't do that anymore.
They want a return on their investment.
There's not the Aaron Rodgers and the Steve McNair and all that stuff where they let you sit for 2 or 3 years, Scott.
No.
Behind somebody and then become a great player, which both those guys did. They don't do that anymore. They throw you into the fray, and if you're not doing something, there's people already questioning Mac Jones. He had a really good rookie year, but now all of a sudden when he has Mo, Larry, and Curly who can't catch the ball around him, well, what's wrong with Mac Jones? He doesn't have great players around him. That's why, because Bill Belichick has blown it in the draft. He hasn't drafted very well, especially at the wide receiver spot.
Right.
Even the great Bill Belichick.
Right.
It's about you have to surround the quarterback with talent. He can't make chicken salad out of chicken. It's the same thing with Aaron Rodgers, man.
Don't go Burrow on us.
No, we're not. Look, no, but I'm just saying. You look at the Packers and their young receivers.
Yes,
they're playing with a Hall of Fame quarterback, but they are not that great yet either because they're not experienced. But again, the NFL is the way people they don't develop players anymore.
Right.
They want to plug them in like a video game, and that's probably bad for the sport.
The other big topic really that came out yesterday, Brandon Council.
Oh, Lord.
Let's see if this works here.
Looking at Georgia's defense, what do you see that's made them so effective?
I believe just them being able to their third down packages and they got some interior stunts that kind of hinders the run game, but if we're going to start off fast, you start off fast and run the ball on them and keep them out of their third down packages, really, we can demolish them, I believe, personally, up front.
Brandon Council there. You heard the whole entire thing. The question was about the Georgia defensive line, and he said that if we run the ball, we do our third downs, we'll demolish them, he thinks.
Right.
He went there.
They couldn't run the ball in San Jose State, and he's trying to say they're going to demolish Georgia. That's not the smartest thing to say. And he's like a 6th or a 7th year senior, I think.
Yep.
I know he played at Akron for half of his career, but this ain't Akron, okay?
Nope.
I wouldn't give Georgia, I didn't know what was going on at first when I saw Justin Hoganson tweeting, Brandon Council, what are you actually going there? I was like, what happened? And then I started looking around. I was like, oh Lord.
Yep. He went there.
He went there. He's like, "You going there, man?"
I read the context, and I was like, "Okay, maybe."
I mean, yeah,
whatever. I read the whole entire
thing in context,
and then you hear it, and it's like, no, he's confident. I give him credit. He's confident. He's confident in the way Auburn's playing.
Overblown a little bit, but he did still say,
I think we can demolish him.
That's what he said.
Demolish them.
A team that they have not beaten in many a moon, and they have not been able to move the football.
All right. Well, we're going to break down how fast Auburn can get off to a start against Georgia coming up a little later. We'll break all that down a little bit more to see if maybe the Auburn Tigers can, as Brandon Council said, demolish them.
Oh.
We'll figure that one out next. But we got to talk some high school football coming up. The Randolph Raiders in action tomorrow night. Their head coach joins us this morning.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We haven't picked up anything new accident-wise. Everything from earlier should now be clear. We're dealing with a heavy traffic load, so you definitely want to put some extra room in there so you got somewhere to go if something does go wrong around you. From routine care to heart failure, Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialists on Bob Wallace Avenue have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeyes, Skywatch Traffic Center.
Your favorite sports book, BetUS.com, is back for their 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers their members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite leagues, including college football and the NFL. They've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest European slots, and their live dealers are waiting for you at the tables. Sign up at BetUS.com and use the promo code WZZN. That's BetUS.com and the promo code WZZN.
When it's time to ride in the great outdoors, you'll find it at Fayetteville Outdoor Sports. Join us this Saturday, October 8th from 9 till 3 for our grand reopening and explore exciting new products from Polaris and Honda, as well as equipment from Bobcat. Discover a great inventory of hunting vehicles, ATVs, motorcycles, and more. Be sure to register for door prizes and don't miss your chance to see the legendary Chuck Berry's motorcycle. That's this Saturday, 9 to 3 at Fayetteville Outdoor Sports on the Huntsville Highway, Fayetteville, Tennessee.
Southern Fidelity Mortgage. Think of them as a loan for everyone, offering more products than anyone else and the guaranteed lowest rates and costs in town. Of the 2,000 loans that Southern Fidelity Mortgage has pre-approved over the last 10 years, all but one have closed. That's unprecedented in the banking business. For FHA, VA, rural development, and conventional mortgages, for the best mortgage experience in town, it's Southern Fidelity Mortgage.
Call Southern Fidelity Mortgage Company at 256-656-5936.
After a long, hot summer, there's nothing quite like the cool, crisp mornings of fall in Huntsville, Alabama. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and it's time to get out there. Whether it's hunting, camping, boating, biking, or kayaking, we've got the F-150 to take you there. It's truck month at Woody Anderson Ford, and we've got 2022 F-150s in stock on the lot, ready for your driveway today. And with your good credit, get financing as low as 2.9% for up to 60 months. This offer ends 10/31. Being the best-selling truck in America for 44 years in a row is no small feat. But I promise you, if you come drive an F-150, you'll understand. Woody Anderson Ford has nearly 100 F-150s to choose from and lots of colors and option packages. One of these is right for you. Truck month at Woody Anderson Ford. Exceptional deals on all our trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. And a great selection of Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned vehicles. Woody Anderson Ford, corner of Jordan and Sparkman. Hope to see you soon.
This is Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. We're still a place to call for your insulation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on two services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatewitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
New message. Hey, girlfriend, it's Carol from jury duty. We never actually spoke, but I saw you ordered the same hoagie as me at lunch. What are the chances? Anywho, I heard you just got a boat. We should totally grab some hoagies and take it out for a spin.
When you get a boat, you also get new friends. Make sure Progressive's one of them and get coverage today for as little as $100 a year.
Do I want to feel the wind in my hair? Guilty as charged. Oh, seriously, let's ride on your boat.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Annual premium for basic liability policy not available in all states.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Isn't the story of the prodigal son an amazing story? Basically, a rowdy boy who literally wished his father dead ran away and consumed his wealth with hard and fast living. Yet the father looked for his return every day, and when the boy got tired of eating pig slop, he decided to return. What did the father do? As soon as he saw that boy, he ran to him, threw his arms around him, and killed the fatted calf for a great celebration. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of the Cross Point Church. If you're looking for a church home, come see us, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison.
This is Chuck Oliver. Listen to me coming up at noon today. Now, back to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. We're with you until 9 a.m. Scott and Drew hanging out here inside the studios on a Thursday morning and what will be another fantastic 2 days of high school football. And I say 2 days because there are a slew of games being played tonight. You got Buckhorn on the road at Lee. You'll hear that game on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. East Limestone welcomes Lawrence County. Westminster Christian Academy welcomes Madison County. St. John Paul II will welcome New Hope tonight. Plainview welcomes Sylvania. Asbury welcomes Danville. Woodville welcomes Decatur Heritage. Appalachian welcomes Valley Head. So plenty of great games on a Thursday night. And then you get to wake up and we get to do it all over again tomorrow night, as it is another full night of high school football on Friday night as well. And right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone, the Randolph Raiders will put the ball on the tee and kick it off.
Yes, they will, and we're going to always enjoy our weekly visits with our next guest. He is the third-year head football coach of the Randolph Raiders, and with their 45-0 road win at Madison County last week, he became the winningest coach in Randolph history, passing good friend Nick Flanagan with his 20th win in his tenure there. The Raiders are playing very good football right now. They came off their bye week and got a shutout, which is what you want to see. They're continuing to get healthy as well, and they are now 5-1 and 4-0, as we know, and that's a big key in 4A Region 8. And Coach Lloyd is now with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Coach, welcome back to the show. You're Drew and Scott. How are you this morning?
Good, guys. How are you doing?
We're doing well, Coach. And again, I mean, I think you definitely take a road win like that, a performance, especially defensively. Didn't still have all your starters back, but certainly a lot of guys step up. And as you've talked with us throughout this process, developing young players in depth is big this time of year, and certainly your defense led the way this past Friday night.
They did a great job, and, coming off the bye week, it's always good to see a performance like that, get back into region play. And we did. We had a couple of young guys step up and do a really good job for us defensively. Luke Miller got the start at nose guard for Eli Isbell, and we started Thomas Cruz as inside linebacker. Both of those guys played really well for us, did a good job, and it's always good when your defense can keep the zero on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and the win gives you 5 in a row coming out of that bye week. And we talked about it last week that the goal was to come out of that bye week, look good, finish strong, because it's 4 region games in a row. Did you see any kind of rust from a bye week on there, or was it from start to finish strong?
I think there's always things you wish you could do a little better and, execute at a high level. We had a turnover right out of the gate, first offensive play, but defensively we were able to get the ball back for us. Things I was really happy to see, J.J. Chung in at our extra point kicker. He went 6 for 6 on extra points. So we had the ability to clean some stuff up there in our special teams. Hunter Hess had a couple of touchbacks kicking off, made a 30-yard field goal for us. So really some good things there in our special teams. Would have had a punt return for a touchdown, but we get a penalty to bring it back. So just a couple of things we need to clean up and work on. But, kind of, I guess, what you expect coming off a week off.
Well, and Coach, I would say even though the penalty was you hated to see that to wipe the points off the board. As a whole, when you talk about Chung's performance, Hess made a field goal. I thought that it was probably your best performance in the kicking game and the kick coverage, because Madison County's got some good athletes. I thought kicking game wise, it was probably the best performance of the year.
I agree. And just looking back at some of our other games, I don't really know if it's close. That's by far the best we've done. JJ did a great job, of course, stepping in as our extra point guy. Hunter Hess continues to do a great job kicking off for us. And like you said, our coverage team was great. I think we punted a couple of times and did a really good job there, just trying to pin them deeper in their own territory. And, defense stood up, did a really good job for us. We were able to run the football a little bit. The screen game was working. So there are a lot of really, really good things to take away from that. And, and our guys know there's some things we need to clean up and do better moving forward, and that's kind of our focus this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's DAR this week. That's who you're trying to get better, and it is. It's each and every week. You got to be 1-0 each and every week from here on out. And Coach, kind of shed a little bit of light on DAR.
They've got a couple of really good athletes. They don't have a lot of numbers. Their guys play hard. They do a good job with some schemes, mixing some stuff up. They're going to throw a lot of stuff at you formationally on offense. So we got to play our game. And, like we talk about every week, like we're not so much concerned about who we're playing as we are about doing the things we need to do. And if we can take care of us and we can execute at a high level, then we've got the ability at the end of the game to have an opportunity to win a football game.
Yeah, and Coach, I wanted to mention a couple of guys because you mentioned Lucas Miller and Thomas Cruiser. Both those guys weren't starters at the start of the year, but they're seniors that have stepped up and been able to, seamlessly continue to perform in big situations. But I wanted to mention a couple other guys that, to me, are younger players that are sophomores that have played a lot lately for you defensively and done some really good things. One guy nearly got an interception last week, in Jude Conchin. He's played some good football for you. And I wanted to also talk about Park Strickland, who is a young sophomore who, after you had, an injury early in the season at outside backer, he's really played a lot for you. And I think both those guys are growing and are going to be big parts of the future of Randolph football, but are playing good football for you right now also.
Right, and at any point in time, we've really got 3 sophomores on the field for us defensively with Jude Conchin. You've got Graham Beatty back there in the secondary, Park Strickland. Another guy, he split some time with Park, is Theo Reischauer as a junior for us. Those 4 guys have really done a phenomenal job for us. Jude comes in a lot. We try to give Nick Strong a rest when we can defensively. Jude's proven that he can stay on the field, and he does a good enough job, so we're able to keep Nick off more and more. And he's I want to say he played 4 defensive snaps last week. The Nick did, so it's always good when at any point in time we feel like we can start Jude over there at defensive back and still feel pretty comfortable with what we're doing. Park and Theo have done a great job coming in, and to our injury, Thomas Von Hoffeld over there. We're hoping to get Thomas back here in the next week or so. And then you got 3 guys that can play that position, So being able to build depth and being able to watch these young guys take advantage of the opportunity they have, it makes you feel really good about a run you could possibly make this season. And it also makes you feel pretty confident about what you have in the future.
Yeah, depth is the key, especially when you get to this late in the season. How special has that been when you look and you do have multiple guys in multiple positions that you can play? And I mean, I know kids want to get out there and play every snap, but every one less snap that you can get somebody else in there and get a breather, it helps later in the year.
It really does, and we've been fortunate. We've had a lot of young guys come in and play some snaps for us. William Mitchell has come in to give Connor Goodson a break at defensive back. Noah Galt has come in to give us a lot of work there. Bobby Bailey has come in. Bradford Hall, a freshman at inside linebackers, come into play. We've got a couple of guys up on the offensive line. Andrew Smith has done a good job coming in for us and doing a lot of stuff there. So we've been able to build some depth throughout this year. So we've been very fortunate to put a lot of kids on the field, and we've watched some of them grow up pretty fast.
Yeah, we have, and Coach, I know Finn Dwyer as a sophomore has played a lot along the defensive line, did a nice job, been complimented by senior George Jennings. But another couple of young guys that their development, especially with the unfortunate injury with Eli Isbell later in the season, but I thought they both got quality snaps this past Friday and and hopefully we'll get to see some action coming up tomorrow night. Is junior Davis Killingsworth and also freshman Bradford Hall. Whenever you've played, and I know Bradford even got some time at linebacker last week, but Bradford Hall has really flashed when been given an opportunity. Both those guys are two other guys that have been giving you some depth, Coach.
They have. They've been doing a really good job for us, and we've been able to play 6 or 7 guys on the defensive line, and we've played 4 different inside linebackers. So being able to build that depth is really helpful. Having George and his experience and his senior leadership up on the D line, and Finn's actually a senior. I'm hoping that you can speak into existence as he's a sophomore, because I'd love to have him for 2
Oh
years.
man, I'm just my bad. I'm looking at my roster here, and I just happened to look down at it. I guess it was my fault on that. Yeah, me too. I'd love to take it back in time, but he's had a really good year though, Coach.
He's had a really good year. Hopefully we can find him some sort of medical red shirt or something like that to get him another one. But he's done a really good job for us. And, Finn's done a phenomenal job throughout the summer. His leadership is something we really need up front on both sides of the football. And, he just gets after it on Friday night, man. He's done a really good job for us.
Yeah, no question about that. And Coach, of course, we know that I thought it was kind of good for your team, though. You don't ever want to see a turnover or a mistake, but Andrew Hunter hasn't made many. He's only had 2 interceptions all year, but I thought your team bounced back really quickly from that slow start against Madison County. And really, Madison County has 5 or 6 guys physically that really stand out. They've got some good size on the offensive and defensive lines, but I thought your team, as far as adversity goes, when they faced it early, bounced back quickly.
Agreed. We come out, and defensively we do a really good job getting a stop early, on the first drive. Then we throw that interception, and then I think we score on the next 3 offensive drives, for us there. And we get an interception on defense. We get a turnover on downs. We force a punt. So defensively we really answered the call right there. I think we only gave up about 109 yards of total offense. So really, really good night for our defense. Our guys were flying around. It's good to see that kind of ability, and we were locked into what we needed to do. And, County does some stuff on offense that's a little different than what you see week to week. Some of their motions, some of their sets. And I thought our guys were really locked in doing the things they need to do to play at a high level.
Yeah, they were. And Coach, talk about the challenge. As you said, it's really more the mantra with this group is always raise the R, but I know you're wanting to perform well, and certainly there are some things you're going to be looking for from DAR that you're a couple of great athletes you're trying to contain, but it's more about living to and performing up to the capabilities of your squad and continuing to get better. But what are some of the areas? Certainly the kicking game took a huge step forward last week, but as you've watched the film and you guys have prepared, what are you looking for on Friday night for the Raiders to improve on?
We gotta do a really good job up front. They present a couple of fronts and a couple of formations and stuff that that'll kind of get you out of your normal base stuff. So we really got to lock in and communicate a little better. I'd like us to see that. Offensively, we always want to try to run the football better. That's always a goal for us each and every week. And I think as coaches, we're never satisfied with what we did last week. We always want to do something better. Just take care of what we need to take care of. We hadn't turned the ball over a lot. We want to keep that intact, keep protecting the football, keep creating turnovers and takeaways from our defense. We've done a really good job there. And just focused on maybe being better tacklers. We had a JV game earlier this week, and we had some young guys get to play a lot. And, that's an area we feel like we need to improve on there. And having those JV games are always good to get those guys on the field a little extra. But those are things we need to work on, the things we need to correct, and things we can always get better at moving forward.
Mm-hmm. No question. And then I wanted to give a shout-out quickly, too, to Roan Campbell. Really big pick interception, I thought, that kind of set the tone early for your defense last week, Coach. And he does an underrated job offensively as well. This is a really nice group of skill guys you've got, Keegan Morse as well. We talk about Grayson and Andrew and Nick and even Connor Goodson. They make a lot of plays, but there's other complementary parts that have done a great job.
They have, and that interception from Rowan came right after we threw an interception.
Yeah.
And then we end the next offensive drive with a touchdown pass to Rowan Campbell. Mm-hmm. So he kind of started and ended that drive for us right there. Keegan Morris had a couple of big catches for us. He had 3 catches, and 2 of them were real big catches for us when we needed them. And Grayson and Nick are the guys that kind of jump out to you, and Andrew, they kind of get all the stats and stuff like that. But we've got a lot of guys around them that do a great job in their role, and they know that when they're called on to be the guy, we've got a ton of trust and faith in them that they're going to be able to do it.
No question about it. Well, we look forward to being out at Sports Med Field as the Raiders return home. They will take on the DAR Patriots tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Rowan Campbell and these guys and Andrew Hunter. It's a show to see, no question. Nick Strong, Grayson Davenport, a lot of great players on this Randolph Raiders squad as they look to get their 6th win of the year. Coach, again, congratulations on your 20th win and being the winningest coach in Raider history. That's quite an accomplishment. I know in your 3rd year you have it's a village. It takes one. You have a great coaching staff there as well, but a great accomplishment for yourself. I wanted to congratulate you once again on that milestone, and we want to thank Blake Davenport for making us aware of that so we could point it out during the broadcast.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, and thank you, Coach.
David Lloyd, head coach of the Randolph Raiders, joining us this morning. Let's get a break in. Going to wrap up hour 1 when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
It looks like we're still working with a clean slate this morning. Had some wrecks earlier, but they've all been moved out of the way. You be careful. You're going to be in a heavy traffic situation throughout the morning. The 6th annual Bernard Blues and Barbecue Festival is October 29th and 30th in Coleman. Arts and crafts, live music, great barbecue, and a $10,000 giveaway next to Ave Maria Grotto in Coleman. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeyes, Skywatch Traffic Center.
McCurry Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, McCurry Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
AVIQ. Who is AVIQ? AVIQ is audiovisual the intelligent way, where we put our IQ to work for your AV needs. With more than 100 years combined experience in audio, video, and automation, our team of experts is dedicated to one thing, helping you discover technological solutions that make your home special. Once you experience a game or a movie on one of our state-of-the-art home theater systems, you may never leave the house again. AVIQ can build the entire system for you or provide the quality components if you're a do-it-yourselfer. But AVIQ is more than just home theater and state-of-the-art sound systems. We offer a variety of control options for home technology. Energy efficiency, heightened security, and improved quality of life are all attainable through the automation of home systems. Intuitive and user-friendly control is our main priority in designing a system that meets your needs. Don't just take our word for it. You need to see it to believe it. Come visit us at our state-of-the-art showroom on University, just east of Jim and Nick's, across from AT&T, or visit aviqhsv.com.
Flow Trampoline Park is your one-stop fun spot for your next birthday party. Whether you're a boy, girl, kid, or adult, Flow has you covered. Party packages allow up to 25 plus guests, so you'll be able to bring all of your friends. And with all the fun competition to be had at Flow, maybe enemies too. Party packages will give you access to 60 minutes of jump time, grip socks for all guests, a private party room, and a party coordinator. Flow is behind South Parkway and Drake, behind Cracker Barrel. For more information, go to flowhuntsville.com. Get jumping with Flow.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Your favorite sports book, BetUS.com, is back for their 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers their members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite leagues, including college football and the NFL. They've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest European slots, and their live dealers are waiting for you at the tables. Sign up at BetUS.com and use the promo code WZZN. That's BetUS.com and the promo code WZZN.
The Huntsville Sports Commission, a not-for-profit organization, is driven by the love of sports. And we're excited to announce several events already planned for this fall, including the Gulf South Conference Soccer Championship, the AVCA Fall Collegiate Beach Championships, the NCAA Division I Regional Cross Country Championship, and the Running Lane Cross Country Championships. For the love of sports, the Huntsville Sports Commission. Find out more at huntsvillesports.org.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com.
Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. And we just had head coach David Lloyd, Randolph Raiders, on that segment. But before that, we heard from Brandon Council. And he said he did say that they could demolish Georgia, the Auburn offensive line, the Georgia defensive line. We talked a lot about what Texas A&M will bring to Alabama defensively. What is Georgia going to do defensively to Auburn on Saturday? That is what I should say. What have you seen from Auburn offensively that gives you, if you are an Auburn fan, that would give you confidence that you can attack a Georgia defense on the road in your first road game of the season?
I mean, not a lot. Certainly Mizzou at times at home was able to make some plays through the air and on the ground. Wasn't consistent, but they did run the ball, make an explosive play. They did throw the ball okay at times. The first thing Auburn's going to have to do, and this is what they've been terrible at doing so far, is the turnovers. You can't give Georgia extra possessions, man. Georgia's too talented. Auburn's going to have a game where they don't turn the ball over, first and foremost.
Yeah, they can't duplicate what they did in the second half and get lucky.
They have turned
Georgia.
the ball over way too much.
Yeah.
So they've got to protect it. They've got to have their best game up front and protect Robbie Ashford. And then they've got to find a way, just on the recruiting blitz on Blitz Sports Radio, we talked to Jason Caldwell yesterday. You got to find a way to make some explosive plays, because against the Georgias and the Alabamas and and those teams that are among the best in college football, even Ohio State, you can't sustain and go on these 13, 14 play drives, because a mistake's going to happen. You've got to be able to get a chunk play. But see, the problem is, Auburn hadn't done it consistently. Now, they did do it against LSU. They made some early especially, but they just couldn't sustain it. And then the turnovers happened in the second half.
As good or as close as that Georgia-Missouri game was on the scoreboard, Missouri only ended up with a total of 294 yards of total offense against the Georgia Bulldogs, 102 on the ground, 192 through the air. They only gave up 4.9 yards per rush.
Georgia has had trouble running the ball. Now, that Auburn is going to have to stop the run.
Right. Now, Georgia put up 481 yards of offense against Missouri.
But
that game was close on the scoreboard, just not in the stat sheet.
I think they're going to really attack the secondary is what I believe. We'll see. But I think Stetson Bennett and these tight ends, especially the freakazoid Brock Bowers.
Right.
I think Darnell Washington, they're going to attack Auburn's secondary and linebackers. That's the way I think they're going to do it. And I just don't think this Georgia team is quite as good up front as we've seen the last few under Kirby. And I don't think their running back room is still good. It's just I don't think he's as good as someone like Alabama's. I think that's what we're learning. Okay, I still like McIntosh a lot, but not sold on Kendall Milton. Still think he's 4.75. Now Edwards has looked pretty good, but we'll see. I'm just not as sold on Georgia's running game.
Did Robbie Ashford? He performed well against LSU. Threw the ball better than I think a lot of people thought he was going to.
He threw for well over 300 yards.
Does that give you a little bit of confidence going into this week that, okay, maybe Ashford is settling down. Maybe the game is slowing down for him at
maybe
quarterback.
A little bit, but they're still going to have to protect him. And, again, if you had told me that before the game against LSU, I would have thought that Auburn was going to win. But they just couldn't finish drives, especially in the second half. So until Auburn comes out and can play 4 quarters, I have serious doubts as to if they can play with a team like Georgia. I still like about a 34-10 Georgia win.
256-576-4977. Got a minute or so if you want to join the program here left in hour number 1. If you look around the rest of the SEC for this weekend, obviously Tennessee and LSU will be that 11 a.m. kick, and that one is garnering a lot of attention, as it should, because it is a pair of top 25 teams, and people just need to get over the fact that it is kicking off at 11. I know people still are upset that it is kicking off at 11. Mississippi State and Arkansas. That is an 11 a.m. kick as well. You got your 3 o'clock kicks, Vanderbilt hosting Ole Miss, Kentucky at South Carolina at Kentucky at 6:30. So those are your SEC matchups.
Can Ole Miss, avoid a letdown against Vanderbilt because they've had a history. You heard Brett Norsworthy earlier this week. I believe they've lost 2 of their last 4 trips to Nashville, where they just, overlooked the Commodores. And Vanderbilt, has the ability to scare you a little bit. They've got a good young quarterback. They've got Shepard's a good receiver. This is going to be interesting. And this Ole Miss team has been good, Scott, but they haven't been dominant. Like the offense has been able to run the football, but Jackson Dart in that passing game has been okay at best. Gary, I think, is on the phone.
Yeah, how much time do we have? Do we have enough to get him in? Real fast, Gary, your thoughts.
What's up, Gary?
Yeah, I was just going to chime in real quick on the, and then I'll leave it with y'all to talk about it. But on the dirt neck topic,
yeah,
you guys, isn't his problem as much as anything just not having the inability to, I guess, or the hard-headedness to dummy down the playbook for the experience level of his quarterback? I mean, as much as anything, that's kind of what it seems.
Yeah,
you look back at 2020, and Kellen Mond did okay. I mean, we whooped them pretty good, ran them out of the stadium, and I think they caught a break when they didn't have to play Ole Miss. But, it seems like his offense can still work, but he just doesn't know how to dummy it down for his quarterback's experience, I think.
That's a good point, good question, good topic, and we'll talk about it coming up next. We'll talk more Texas A&M football on the flip side coming up at the top of the hour.
Hey friends, Eli Gold here for Environmental Comfort Systems. If you're concerned about the air quality inside your home, give my friend Rick Smith a call at Environmental Comfort Systems. Their indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of indoor air contaminants. Give the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and see how comfortable you can be. Breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
Tom Abraham here for my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Not much to the ride in this morning. It has been extremely smooth. Had a couple of wrecks close to the first of the morning, but they have been long gone. You be careful. You're in heavy traffic, so you definitely want to put a little extra room in there so you got someplace to go if you have to. Popeye's tender, juicy, hand-breaded chicken would be great for tailgating. You can score 5 pieces for $6.99. Popeye's, University and Jordan, 72 and Jeff and North Parkway. Captain Nick in the Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly sunny sky this afternoon. It's going to be a nice warm day. Temperatures actually a bit above average for this time of year, climbing into the low and mid 80s, dropping into the mid 50s as we head into the overnight. Maybe a slight increase in cloud cover for your Friday afternoon. Temperatures, though, still climbing into the lower 80s. That slight increase in cloud cover is associated with a cold front that's going to move through the Tennessee Valley, dropping our temperatures as we head into the front half of the weekend. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brett Musburger's Action Update.
2 Major League Baseball wildcard games are on the board. Cleveland hosting Tampa Bay Friday in Game 1. The Guardians minus a run and a half plus 180. The Rays getting a run and a half minus 220. On the money line, Tampa Bay plus 110. Cleveland minus 130 with an over-under of 6. Pitching matchup, Shane McClanahan goes for the Rays. Shane Bieber for the Guardians. Seattle and Toronto to take on the Blue Jays. Luis Castillo against Alex Manoah. Mariners plus a run and a half minus 184. Toronto minus a run and a half plus 152. On the money line, Mariners plus 126. Blue Jays minus 148 over under 7. Red Hot winning picks at experts.winnersandwiners.com. Save 75% on any best bet package with the promo code ACTION75. That's ACTION75 at experts.winnersandwiners.com. For vsin.com, I'm Tony Desiri, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
It is hour 2 of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond until 9 a.m. We got one more hour to go on our Thursday show. And we ended hour number 1 with Gary calling in on the phone lines and basically asking us, hey, Jimbo Fisher's offense. We talked about it to start the show. Yeah. Quarterback play has been a big question mark there. And is it the inability of the game plan to mold it around said quarterback, kind of change that playbook a little bit, make it more conducive to the style of the quarterback, to what they can do, to how they can perform, maybe simplify it just a little bit? Or is it a modernization problem of the offense? We don't know, but that is something that I think a lot of Texas A&M fans, a lot of Texas A&M people are kind of questioning as the offense goes there at Texas A&M or doesn't go by the stat line.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because there was a lot of expectations for this team. We heard in Atlanta that if they didn't at least finish second in the West and win 10 games, it was going to be a disappointment. So certainly it's been some struggles early. And we're going to talk with our next guest. He's a first-time guest on the show. He just recently joined AggieScoop.com in the last few months, part of On3Sports.com, which has now been around the last calendar year. It's one of the fastest-growing networks in the country. And they cover Aggie football and recruiting, and of course Texas A&M athletics. And Marshall Levinson has been good enough to join us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline and talk some Aggie football this morning. Marshall, how are you, sir? You're in Huntsville, Alabama, with Drew and Scott. Good morning.
I'm doing great, guys. Thank you for having me on. Hope you all are having a good morning.
Thank you, man. We appreciate the time. We just had a caller call in. In your mind, you guys cover this team every day. You track the recruiting. You watch this roster. You've watched the football team on the field. What has been the biggest issue offensively in your mind? Is it offensive line? Is it quarterback? Is it a combination of it? What's been the biggest issue for the Aggies offensively thus far?
Well, I would say in the first few games when they were going with Haynes King, it was just the lack of execution by King and the turnovers. He was throwing a couple bad interceptions here and there, and then they make the move to Max Johnson, who can take care of the ball a little bit better. Those interceptions were not there, but neither were the explosive plays. He was getting better yardage. He was having low 200, high 100-yard performances with a touchdown, but no interceptions. So there was no explosiveness. And I think that's the biggest issue is as many playmakers as the Aggies have and talented receivers, there should be some bigger chunk plays, some explosive plays to make a defense respect you and maybe back off a little bit. But that has not been the case. And the offensive line had their struggles in the first couple games. They've settled in a little bit better since then. But really, we just have not seen any explosive plays. And then, obviously, Anais Smith, the star receiver, goes down for the season against Arkansas. And that's another blow for a wide receiver core that is now very young. And even the guys that are experienced, they've never been in that number one role before. So they're figuring that out as well now. And this will be the second week of that. And you're really getting thrown into the fire in terms of that. But it's been a struggle at the quarterback position, and even though Max Johnson, who is now dealing with a hand injury, so his status is a bit up in the air. If it is Haynes King, he's going to have to figure something out to take care of the ball, because that Alabama defense is not. They're not going to let him throw it all over the yard. So it'll be interesting to see how this offense responds and who goes out there. But so far there has not been to show much optimism for this offense moving forward.
Marshall, who do you anticipate? I mean, we're asking the same question here with Alabama. Who do we anticipate being the starting quarterback on Saturday? And Alabama's gone so far as to not even show who's throwing the wide receivers the ball on practice videos this week. Who do you anticipate, or what does your gut tell you who's going to be under center for Texas A&M on Saturday?
Well, given the injury, the hand injury, that's obviously crucial. If it were a rib injury, a back injury, we've seen quarterbacks in the NFL and college, take a week, get some medicine, maybe get a harness going and get back out there. But because it's a hand injury, if Max Johnson cannot grip the ball, it'll be Haynes King. And right now, that's what I'm leaning towards. I just think you have to go with what your best option is. And if Max Johnson can't throw the ball properly, then you have to go with Haynes King. But I do not think it's out of the realm of possibilities. We see the 5-star freshman, Connor Weigman. And I know Jimbo Fisher probably would not like to make his debut on the road against Alabama.
Yeah.
But if Haynes King goes in there and in the first half maybe has a couple interceptions or just is not getting it done, I mean, I don't know that you can sit there and realistically watch him for another 2 quarters, 3 quarters if it's just not happening. And Jimbo has said that Weigman has been doing good with the twos in practice and that he gets those reps and that he thinks he's going to be a great player. So if he truly believes that, then I think you have to at least give him a shot.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I think the first and foremost thing Alabama's got to do is contain Devon Achane. I mean, he made, I thought, the biggest play in the game last year, Marshall, when the Aggies beat Alabama 41-38, when he made the explosive kickoff return as Alabama was trying to make a run to get back in the game. He's the one guy left offensively where you can, just at the snap of the fingers, change the scoreboard.
Mm-hmm. And he's done that this year so far as well. He's been the workhorse. I mean, there was, I think it was against Arkansas, I think he played every snap in the game but 2. I mean, that's unheard of for running backs. You normally see a little bit more rotation, but he hasn't really needed to come out of the game, and they don't want him to come out of the game. If he's able to go, he's going. And so, I mean, he's obviously a weapon in the receiving game as well. He can come out and catch the ball. And obviously he's incredible in the return game. So they're going to need him to do that, especially, like I said, this will be the second week without Anais Smith at wide receiver. And so they're going to need some of those younger receivers to step up, but they're going to be relying even more so on Devon Achane to run the ball. And because of the quarterback situation, I do think we might see a little bit more rotation, but I think it'll be with maybe some 2 running back sets where Devon Achane is in there. But maybe he lines up in the slot, or maybe he goes in some motion with one of the other running backs in there just to get some variety in there and maybe switch up some looks. But they're certainly going to need Achane to be on his best, and he's had 2 games of 100 yards back to back, and he didn't have a touchdown last week, but they're certainly going to need him to find the end zone in this one.
Yeah, last week. I mean, this game kind of has that same setup to it as last year. Yeah. Mississippi State, gets the best of Texas A&M, and then Texas A&M takes on Alabama, and we know how that came out last year. What happened last week in Starkville? Where did it kind of go wrong for Texas A&M?
Well, I think they managed for 2 weeks to maybe mask up some of their deficiencies. I think having Max Johnson in there created just enough of a difference to kind of, I don't want to say skate by, but I mean, because you beat 2 top 15 teams in a row, you don't do that by just skating by. But they did have some defensive breaks. I mean, KJ Jefferson tries to dive over the middle, and it pops open, and they hand the ball off on a lateral handoff play and score a touchdown, and there's a missed doink field goal at the end of the game. And I mean, there were certainly some things that covered up some of the deficiencies for A&M, and I think it just caught up to them. You go on the road in the SEC, it doesn't matter if it's Mississippi State, if it's Alabama, on the road in the SEC, it's hard to mask up those issues. And so first game without Anais Smith did not help. And even if Devon Achane got over 100 yards and Moose Muhammad, the receiver, got over 100 yards, this is SEC ball and SEC West in specific. So you really have to be on your game. But like you said, it happened last year, and if we say A&M has all of these issues and they have an elite defense, all they needed their offense is to just be formidable, but they haven't gotten that. But for whatever reason, if there were a game where A&M just had it all clicking, it would somehow be this game. So I don't know how it happens or how they pulled it off last year, but they're going to need some of the, like you said, the special teams touchdown. They're going to need some defensive. They're going to win the turnover battle. I think they're going to be +2, +3 in the turnover battle, and they're going to need maybe some defensive or special teams touchdowns if they want to beat Alabama.
And we're talking to Marshall Levinson, AggieScoop.com, part of On3Sports.com. You just talked about A&M's defense. We brought it up earlier in the first hour. As Scott said, they are still a top 25 defense. I think ranked 22nd in total defense in college football. Only 6th in the SEC, but that just goes to show you the quality of the defenses in this league. Certainly when you look back at it, they held Miami to 9. They lose the game to Appalachian, but they give up 17 total points. What's the strength of this defense, and how do you see that matching up with Alabama, who may in their own right be playing a backup quarterback in this game?
Yeah, I mean, to me, and I know a lot of people want to look at the defensive line and all the 5 stars they have there, and they have some strong linebacker play, but it's got to be the DBs and the safeties and specifics for me. I mean, Antonio Johnson is an incredible playmaker. He's leading the team in tackles, and this team is this defense tackles very well. And I think that they're going to need that to happen. When you get on a man, you're going to have to bring him down in this one. You can't let Alabama get any extra yards on you. And they're going to need, like I just said, you're going to need the defensive line to show up. As good as they've been, they only have, I think, 5.5 or 6.5 sacks as a team through 5 games. And which is, if you were to tell me that, I would not believe you, given all the talent that they have on the defensive line. For whatever reason, they've been in the play calling, like we mentioned, the play calling with the offense.
Yeah.
And Jimbo Fisher's offense. I think the defense is going to need to change it up as well. You get on Twitter and you can see that there's plenty of people griping about how many 3-down linemen sets A&M's defense is running. I think they're going to need to change that up. I think they're going to need to get 4. I think they're going to need to create pressure, because I know if Jalen Milroe's in the game, obviously he's very talented, but he's not as experienced as anybody on that offense. So they're going to need to throw some looks at him to maybe confuse him. But I think the defensive secondary is going to be the answer in this one, because they're going to, like I said, they're going to need to win the turnover battle, and I think that might come in the form of interceptions.
Yeah, they definitely need to contain Alabama's running game, because Alabama's leading the nation in yards per carry, but a lot of that is explosive runs. It's a little bit different. Last year, Jameson Williams hurt the Aggies and had his breakout, and Alabama could make big plays through the air. But this Alabama team, it's more about the improving offensive line and an explosive running game, a little bit different style. So the Aggies are definitely – I wouldn't be surprised, especially if Milroe's at quarterback, if they put 7 or 8 in the box, Marshall.
Yeah, he's obviously shown that he can be an elite runner, and I'm sure he's talented as a passer as well. He's there for a reason. So you don't want to shoot your defense. You don't want to shoot your own self in the foot by loading it up and he just airs it out over you if the safeties aren't ready. Because obviously Alabama has those talented receivers to do that. But you're right. Facing the running backs at Alabama is always. And he's always tough. And Jahmyr Gibbs, with as talented as he is and as athletic as he is, like I said, you're going to need to tackle. And he's as shifty as they come. And he's bouncing around, and he's easily one that can force some missed tackles. So they're going to need to bring guys down, and they're going to need to have probably a couple lucky breaks come their way, maybe some tipped balls that go in favor of the Aggies.
Yeah, so this game had a lot of buildup, a lot of hype coming into it in the preseason. Texas A&M is at a huge crossroads as far as that SEC West goes. You feel like that Arkansas was a loss, but they were fortunate enough to get a win there. You lose to Texas A&M. This is a huge, big game for Mississippi State. This is a huge, big game for Texas A&M on Saturday.
Yeah, as much as hype and build-up as they had, I mean, I had this going into the season as like one of the top 10 games in college football.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after all of the off-season drama between the two coaches and the recruiting talk, and I mean, as much talent is on these teams in terms of those recruiting rankings, and I mean, this was supposed to be a potential college football playoff implications kind of game. Realistically, it's not for A&M, but it could be for Alabama. If Alabama drops this game, you have some other very strong teams in the SEC West that may not drop a game, or may not drop a game for a while at least. A&M has every reason to go into this game, I mean, going for the win. Why would you not? I mean, is their season down the drain? No, I don't think it is. I mean, you still have, if you win this game, you can keep the morale high, and you can keep a reason and a motivation to keep playing, and especially with some of these young guys on this A&M roster, they've never been in this situation before. They don't know what it's like to go to Alabama and play. They're going to find out real quick, but they may not have those jitters that some other people may have that's been there before. So for guys like the 5-star freshman receiver, Evan Stewart, he hasn't had a breakout game. He's been consistent, 5-6 catches, 50, 60 yards. They're going to need him to have a breakout. They're going to need him to pop off. And, I mean, A&M is just trying to silence the doubters right now and maybe just derail this Alabama season a little bit.
Yeah, they would definitely derail it. It would be a huge win. It would change the narrative for Jimbo. How much pressure is Fisher under from the fan base? Because they were very excited about beating Alabama a year ago, and the recruiting class. I mean, it was a historic group that they brought in. They were expected, but they were picked preseason top 5, 6 in the country. Some had them in the playoff. How disappointed are they? And is Jimbo under pressure right now?
He's certainly getting some criticism in terms of pressure of hot seat versus non.
Right.
I don't think they're there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Some fans might. Some of the radical thinking fans might be that far. Fans that jump at that gun no matter what. He's not on the hot seat, but there is some criticism to show up a little bit in these situations because he's been there for a few years. This entire roster is his, and now it's time to win football games, and they're not necessarily doing that at the level they should be. So this game might be the direction deciding game. I mean, if they go to lose, I think A&M's 3 touchdown underdogs. If they go and lose by 21, 28, they may go into a bit of a funk. They may go 7-5, 8-4 again, and maybe that criticism gets turned up to a higher level. But if you go in there and beat him, he can probably stave off some of that criticism for at least a little bit longer. But I think his main criticism is coming with play calling. I mean, you see some coaches walking around the sideline with maybe just a little bit of a sheet, maybe a little bit of paper. He's walking around with what seems like a binder, and they call his offense like the most most over-complex, simple offense there is. It's like it should be super easy, but everyone calls it very hard. I mean, he's walking around with papers just flying everywhere. I think they need to dumb it down a little bit, and just get your playmakers the ball and just go from there.
Well, it goes back to what Gary talked about.
I mean, as far as the team goes, are they all on the same page with Jimbo? I mean, is everybody all on the same page, or is it? I mean, if they fall to Alabama, you kind of alluded to it that I mean it could go in a different direction. But is everybody still all on the same page?
I mean, I think so. You would like to think so. This team is very young at a lot of different spots, and they have a lot of guys that have been there for a few years that I think those are those captains and those veteran guys that at certain spots that are trying to keep everything together. And I know University of Texas had a team only meeting, and that's never a good thing to hear because it always spells some disconnect from the team and the coaches. I don't think A&M's there, but they're certainly maybe leaning that direction of maybe some disconnect there. Maybe some players that aren't exactly getting what they thought they were going to get, or and so maybe it's playing time, maybe it's just the performance of others around them. But I think this team still has everything to play for. I mean, in this game, like we've both said, this is going to be a deciding game of which direction this program goes. If you go out there and you win, I think you rejuvenate your season. You have everything in front of you. If you go out there and you drop a dud and you just lose by 3 or 4 touchdowns, things may start to seem a little bit eerie in College Station, and you're 3-3, really no direction of the season, and I think that's where this may maybe go sideways a little bit, is if you go and just lay an egg against Alabama.
Well, great stuff, Marshall Levinson, AggieScoop.com. Let everybody know how to connect with you and your work, and we appreciate the time and the insight into this situation with Texas A&M facing a fork-in-the-road game in Tuscaloosa.
Absolutely. We're going to have some previews of the game on AggieScoop.com, and you can find me on Twitter at MarshallLevy14. So go ahead at MarshallLevy on3. So go ahead and give me a follow. We're going to have some previews of this game, and we're obviously Alabama and A&M have some recruiting battles going against each other, so I'm sure you can get some updates on there as well throughout the season. So, but I appreciate you guys having me on, and hopefully talk to you guys again.
Thank you.
Thanks.
At Marshall Levy on 3.
Good stuff there, and interesting stuff. And, you look at it, and he kind of alluded to it. Texas A&M's at a big crossroads. This is a crossroads game for Texas A&M.
We didn't use the term, but he said dumb down the offense, just like Gary asked about.
Yeah. I mean, that is interesting because I don't know if people, it is kind of interesting to see where Texas A&M is at. I mean, what we have seen from college football, and I'm not saying that Jimbo Fisher is a game away from getting fired. I'm not alluding to that. But what we've seen from college football is that if a school wants to get rid of a coach, they'll get rid of him. Where we sit here and say the buyout is this amount, the buyout is this and this and this, and we just assume that it's ironclad, that if it's high enough, they're not going to get rid of him. But if Jimbo Fisher continues to only win 8 ball games, and as much as they are paying them, eventually enough is enough.
Yeah. It's a big game for Jimbo. We'll see how his team responds, see what happens at the quarterback position. I would say Max Johnson probably will not play in this game. Are we going to see Connor Wageman? We don't know. But Haynes King has not played well, but could he play the game of his life? We'll see. And we'll see about this Alabama offense. And we're going to ask Aaron Suttles about that from The Athletic next because he's got some interesting insight. And I'd like to hear his thoughts about what he saw in Fayetteville. And if we don't see Bryce Young, and I think he's like me, I don't think he expects to, what can we see out of Alabama against the Aggies?
Let's get that break in. And Aaron Suttles will join us on the flip side when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Not much to the ride in this morning. It has been extremely smooth. Had a couple of wrecks close to the first of the morning, but they have been long gone. You be careful. You're in heavy traffic, so you definitely want to put a little extra room in there so you got someplace to go if you have to. Popeye's tender, juicy, hand-breaded chicken would be great for tailgating. You can score 5 pieces for $6.99. Popeye's, University and Jordan, 72 and Jeff and North Parkway. Captain Nick in the Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for their 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers their members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite leagues, including college football and the NFL. They've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest European slots, and their live dealers are waiting for you at the tables. Sign up at BetUS.com and use the promo code WZZN. That's BetUS.com and the promo code WZZN.
What can you expect when you shop for a firearm at Bullet & Barrel? Expect great prices. We specialize in quality over quantity. Expect great service. Our professional sales staff is never pushing. We won't talk you into something that doesn't fit your needs. You have the right to make a smart, informed decision. Expect Bullet and Barrel, Alabama's only 5-star indoor shooting range, to support you after the sale. Bullet and Barrel, 3252 Lehman Ferry Road. Like or follow us on Facebook. Come see us soon.
Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Thursday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
One of the best-kept golf secrets in the Tennessee Valley is Cherokee Ridge. Cherokee Ridge truly offers golf at a higher level with immaculate greens set against a spectacular Appalachian backdrop. This 18-hole championship course takes every advantage of rolling hills, whispering woods, lakes, and streams. Interested in becoming a member? Their membership plans feature affordable options for couples, families, and individuals. Book your tee time today, 256-841-4551. Cherokee Ridge. Championship quality, affordable prices.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
New message. Hey, girlfriend, it's Carol from Jury Duty. We never actually spoke, but I saw you ordered the same hoagie as me at lunch. What are the chances? Anywho, I heard you just got a boat. We should totally grab some hoagies and take it out for a spin.
When you get a boat, you also get new friends. Make sure Progressive's one of them and get coverage today for as little as $100 a year.
Do I want to feel the wind in my hair? Guilty as charged. Oh, seriously, let's ride on your boat.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Annual premium for basic liability policy not available in all states.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated. Licensed in the respective state or county.
Sitting here with Mark Kent of Southern Fidelity Mortgage Group of Huntsville. Mark, do you help pre-qualify people?
We pre-qualify people all the time, Wes. As a matter of fact, I love having them coming in here because when they come in and they pre-qualify, they can leave my office knowing exactly how much they can buy and have no worries.
Mark, tell me about your rates and pricing.
Well, Wes, this is something we're really, really proud of. Long story short is, I love being able to provide the best pricing in town. Honestly, I cannot tell you the last time I lost a deal to either rate or pricing, something I'm very proud of.
So what all financing options do you have, Mark?
We do several different things. If you're purchasing a home, we can handle the purchase. If you're wanting to refinance your home, of course, rates are at the lowest they've been in the last 3 years. We do a lot of refinancing. If you're building a home, we can handle the entire process from breaking ground to the final close.
Do you sleep with your phone?
Wes, if you want to reach me, you can call me at my office phone, which is 256-562-1000. But always remember, I sleep with my cell phone at night. That number is 256-656-5936.
This is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now more of Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on your home for Crimson Tide Sports 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Roll Tide.
All right, Alabama back at home Saturday night, 7 o'clock. You'll hear the game right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone, so make sure you have the app so you can have the Crimson Tide in the power of your hands each and every Saturday night. That does include Saturday night against Texas A&M, and a lot has been made of this game because of everything that led into the preseason. But just like it was last year, these two teams kind of trending in different directions. Texas A&M kind of in an abyss. They're kind of unknown. I mean, we don't know what we're going to get out of Texas A&M. Are we going to get that superstar performance like we got last year out of them at home as they upset Alabama? We don't know. Who's going to be a quarterback for Alabama? We don't know. How's this team going to respond after winning a game on the road where it was an up and down type of game. We don't know. It's almost like a microcosm of last year.
Well, when we really always enjoy our chats with our next guest, he has a gift with the written word. He's got a book coming out very soon on Nick Saban and the Alabama football program. And he talked with us about that the last time he joined us. And he has the Bama and Bourbon, daily podcast. And also he does a great job as the beat writer for the University of Alabama for The Athletic. And please check him out. And it's at Aaron Suttles on Twitter. And Aaron Suttles is with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline to give us his thoughts coming off of this win in Fayetteville. But then what does Alabama have going forward? A lot of uncertainty due to the injury to Bryce Young. Aaron, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
And as you said, Alabama's season hinges on this shoulder injury and how severe it is for Bryce Young. Certainly in the short term, Jalen Murrow did a really nice job, I thought, because if you had told me he was going to have to play 2.5 quarters in Fayetteville, I would have been nervous about the outcome for Alabama. And I think in the short term they can still stay afloat. But as you wrote, it's going to just depend on the long-term future for Bryce Young and getting back in the lineup.
Yeah, Alabama's a good enough team around the quarterback position that they're going to win the majority of the games that they play, as long as the quarterback's not a liability. If the quarterback's turning the football over a lot and can't manage the offense, and there's only so much you can do. But around him, Alabama's a great football team. They recruit well. They develop well. So, yeah, I mean, they can win the majority of their games, playing a quarterback that doesn't have to be special. But if you want to win a national championship in today's college football, you're going to have to usually have a special quarterback. And Alabama's had some of those over the years. I think people forget, and I actually forgot, guys, that when Bryce went down, Alabama only had 14 points. Mm-hmm. Jalen Milroe was the quarterback when they scored the other 5 touchdowns. So he did some good things. I'm a little concerned they couldn't take advantage of the passing game when Jalen was in the game because Arkansas was almost dead last in the country in pass defense. So that's a little concerning to me. They also came in and they didn't have a game plan that utilized what Jalen's skill set is. And if Jalen has to play this week, which I think he probably will, they're going to tailor a game plan around him. But you're right. Long term, if we want to get where this team wants to go, they're going to have a healthy Bryce Young.
Yeah. But how much did this team grow up, though, individually when Bryce goes out? Because like we were talking about earlier in the week, it is easy just to kind of maybe take a play here or there. You don't want him to, but if Bryce Young is in there, you just get this feeling that he is going to rescue this team. He's going to put it on their shoulders. He's going to win. But Jahmyr Gibbs steps up. He has a big fourth quarter. Other guys had to learn to step up and maybe take a little different role when Bryce went out.
Yeah, I think you talk about learning something about themselves, proving something to themselves. The talking point last week going into the game that Alabama's 5 road games. 4 of them, 3 of them they barely won. They blew out Mississippi State last year, and then they lost one to Texas A&M. So when things started going poorly there in the third quarter, I bet you there was a sense of resignation almost on that Alabama team of here we go again. They had a big lead at Florida last year, and they blew it. And barely won that game. So when that 28-point lead evaporated down to 5 points, I'm sure there was some people looking on the sideline at each other like, are we really going to let this happen again? So to stop the bleeding in that environment, which was a great environment in Fayetteville, I think it proved something to them. I think they learned something from it. But I think there's a greater point of you can't let a team back in the game like that. You just can't. And there are a variety of reasons of why it happened. Offense stalled, special teams blunders. But they overcame it. At the end of the day, I think that's a huge lesson for this team. You're going to have to win on this league. You're on the road in this league. And they had struggled, but once they composed themselves, they reasserted themselves and went out and dominated the football game. And it was all based on the running game, as you mentioned, Scott. They had over 220 yards rushing in the fourth quarter alone. And that's easy to do, I guess, when you get a 77-yarder, a 72-yarder, and a 76-yarder. So I would like to see, just me personally, I think you're too talented at the offensive line position. You're too talented at running back with Jahmyr Gibbs and Chase McClellan to get stopped for as many no gains and negative rushes as we've seen. But there's no debating that the explosive run is back. They did not have a ton of explosive runs last year. They do have a ton of explosive runs this year.
Well, and what are you seeing as far as growth along the offensive line? That was a big sticking point last year. They weren't talented enough, especially on the right side. Eric Wolford now nearing the halfway point of year one. What kind of growth have you seen there, Aaron?
It's a great question, too. You know, I was talking to a group down in Baldwin County last night, and the offensive line came up. And I want to preface this by saying Nick Saban knows exponentially more football than I've ever dreamed about knowing. But I do wonder, after 5 games, shouldn't you have a starting 5 already? And I understand sometimes injury has stuff to deal with that. But listen, in my very non-expert view, Tyler Booker is your best left guard. Tyler Booker needs to be the starting left guard. And then Javian Cohen and Emil Ekier can compete for right guard. But it's troubling to me that we're 5 games into the season and we're still shuffling at the offensive line position. And now you've got Seth McLaughlin at center, who did a pretty good job at Arkansas. So you go with Seth McLaughlin, you go with Darian Delcourt. At some point, you've got to give this group an opportunity to work together for multiple games in a row. And we're 5 games into the season. We haven't seen that. But I do think they're talented. I like what Tyler Booker's given them up front. I think he's athletic. I think he's powerful. He's creating more movement from that left guard position than we've seen. So I think there's an exciting possibility, and the growth has been there, and they've been good. I just think they have to give those guys – you got to find and identify your 5 guys, and you got to let them play together. And they've identified 6, 7, 8 guys, but they keep shuffling them in and out. And at some point, I think for that line to reach its sort of zenith, it's the best it can be, you got to give them the reps together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and last year we saw this offensive line struggle against Texas A&M. The pressure that Texas A&M brought at Kyle Field kind of gave Alabama fits last year.
It did. I mean, and they're very, very talented. If you follow recruiting, you know what they've done on their defensive line recruiting, and they got a lot of really good guys, and they can roll them in with depth. So that is concerning. I do think it's almost to Alabama's advantage that there's not a ton of film for Texas A&M to sort of evaluate Jalen Milroe. I mean, obviously they got 2.5 quarters versus Arkansas, but that was sort of on the fly. They did not have a game. Alabama did not have a game plan going in with Bryce or with Jalen Milroe. Now they had a package or two, right? You know how you want to use them, but they didn't practice it all week. The offensive line, not that you block differently, but when you have a quarterback that you have design runs for, it's a little different. And Jalen Milroe's skill set's pretty good, guys. He's not a consistent passer, but he's got a strong arm, and he is unbelievably athletic. And for anyone that hasn't, I've watched it about 10 times already. Go back and watch that 77-yard run on 15, and watch number 18 on defense. And watch he completely underestimates Jalen's size and Jalen's speed. He almost thinks Jalen's going to slide, and then Jalen just runs by him. And so I think that almost gives Alabama a little bit of advantage because they don't really know what to expect in terms of what Alabama's going to call with Jalen Milroe as the quarterback. Now, that's me assuming that's going to be Jalen, which I think it is, but I also don't think Bryce Young's injury is going to keep him out very, very long. I do think they're going to take it, be cautious with him, but long-term I think he's going to be fine. But as you mentioned, Texas A&M is a very talented team. It's just how many points do you need to win? Because Jimbo Fisher, I've been told for all these years, is an offensive, god. He's a quarterback whisperer. I think it's time to start asking the question: today's offenses in college football, is he on board with them? Because it's been a while since Jimbo Fisher's put out a consistently great offense.
I completely agree there. I've always thought he was overrated as a quarterback developer and that his offense is archaic. But I will say this, just watching Milroe, and I've also seen him in scrimmages. I've been fortunate to see a few I would agree with you, Aaron, completely about him being erratic as a passer. But I will say this and Jalen Hurts is probably the best running QB in Alabama history. The yardage says so. And Blake Sims was an underrated runner. He's kind of a cross between the two, and I think Milroe is probably the most explosive athlete Saban's had at the quarterback position.
I don't think I disagree with that. He's dynamic, Drew. I mean, he's 6 foot. He's every bit of 6'2". He looks 220. They got him listed, I think, at 212. But he's just incredibly athletic, and in a way that's different from, as you mentioned, the guys before him, because I think he can run through you. He's built like a linebacker, and so if he gets into the second level, he's running around guys that aren't that much bigger than him at linebacker, and he's already got more athletic than, and he's bigger than the guys in the secondary. So if he breaks contain, like we saw against Arkansas, it's a difficult job getting him on the ground. And then you build the passing game around what he can do, whether that's quick screens. I mean, we saw what he did with JoJo Earl when he came back on that touchdown pass, just letting your athlete work in space. There are a lot of things you can do with him, and things that you can do with him that you can't do with Bryce, although Bryce is a good scrambler. Bryce isn't the same type of runner. He's not as explosive as Jalen. So I'm excited to see what they can do with him. Because remember, Bill O'Brien had a very mobile quarterback in Houston, and Deshaun Watson. So he's not completely foreign to having a quarterback like that.
He's not, and then also, as we spend the last few minutes with Aaron Suttles of The Athletic, the thing that I'm wanting to see too, we saw a little bit of it Saturday, especially before Bryce went out with Kobe Prentice vertically, and then Isaiah Bond. But some of these older receivers, especially Trayshawn Holden, even Ja'Cory Brooks, they got to start consistently making plays, Aaron, because we know that Aaron Anderson's going to be back soon. We'll see with Tyler Harrell, but these young guys are talented, and they're starting to assert themselves.
Plenty of depth. The depth on the wide receiving corps has not been an issue this year, and we've sort of thought that was the case and known that was going to be the case heading into the season. At least I did. The question is, if you have to have a drive, you got to have a guy who's going to be it. Last year, you had Ja'Cory Brooks. He did it at Auburn, and we thought maybe we saw the emergence of Ja'Cory against Vanderbilt, but he had a couple of really bad drops against Arkansas. You know who I feel bad for is Jermaine Burton. This guy's gotten open deep 2 weeks in a row. Bryce overthrew him for a touchdown against Vanderbilt, and Jalen underthrew him for what would have been a touchdown. The pass got broken up on the play before Jalen's 77-yard scramble. So they've got the guys, but they haven't. I don't know that you know right now if we have to have a drive, if there's one guy, and maybe they don't need just one guy, but I do think somebody's got to step up in terms of consistency, because we see flashes every week from different guys. Now, early in the season, we thought Kobe Prentice was going to be good. He's been great, but he's dropped some balls. You got to have some consistency, and I think it's too soon in the season to say no one's going to be able to give them that. I just think they've got to step their games up a little bit and help their quarterback out some.
Yeah, Aaron, this game, at the beginning of the year, this game had all the attention across the nation because of everything not even related to the field. It was away from the field. Texas A&M, and we talked about this even in our last segment. Texas A&M is at a huge crossroads with this game. I mean, they can't afford to come into Tuscaloosa and just get embarrassed on the field on Saturday. Alabama wants this game. From what happened last year, two, to having their head coach's name, just get slung around, and Will Anderson made a point about that earlier this year. This could get pretty ugly for Texas A&M if we see a focused Alabama team.
That's the big question. If they play focused, this game shouldn't really be that close. Alabama's a better football team than Texas A&M. Texas A&M, if they lose this game, they're in danger. They're really in danger if they lose this game. They might finish under 500 in the SEC.
Wow.
Which for a coach that they're paying all that money to, he better watch out. And he's a guy that before this whole thing, I always had my question marks about Jimbo Fisher. I thought he was a good football coach. I thought he was a builder. I didn't think he could sustain, and that's the difference in my mind. He built it at Florida State, couldn't sustain it. He hasn't really even built it yet, although they had the really good season where they, if there had been an expanded college football playoffs, he would have gotten in that year that they only lost to Alabama. So he's done an okay job, but it's not what they're paying him. He's not doing what they're paying him. So that was my impression before that. And then the way he acted in the offseason, I've completely lost any respect for Jimbo Fisher, especially the way he's handled it last week, or this week, rather. You said it. Don't back up now. You said what you think. You went out on the stage, you called a press conference, and you threw a fit like a 2-year-old. And then afterwards, because you embarrassed yourself, you embarrassed your university, you embarrassed your brand, you've backed off of it now. Well, you can't put that back in a can. You've already said it. And now you come across as weak, and your team's stumbling in here. That's why I do think Texas A&M is more dangerous than people are thinking because of all of that. They've been embarrassed. They've circled this game for a long time, but Alabama has too. And Alabama's a better team. And you know who better show up Saturday night is the Alabama football fans. It's a night game. This coach went out and embarrassed your head coach. They beat you last year. Alabama fans need to show up and be loud on Saturday night and give that team a true home field advantage, like so many of these games that they go to where the other opposing fans put on a great atmosphere. Put on a great atmosphere on Saturday night and give those guys some energy so they can avoid a third quarter like they had in Fayetteville, because this game is personal. These coaches are going to downplay it, but it's really personal.
Well, it's going to be great stuff. We can't wait to read your work, Aaron, of course, at The Athletic. Let everybody know how to connect with it. And I'm just waiting. I'm anticipating, if he has another game like last week, the story that you're going to write about the legend of Jaheim Otis and how it's growing.
I can't. That guy's a monster, and I can't wait. Yeah, if you want to read, you can sign up for The Athletic right now for, I hate to be the guy that plugs everything, but you can sign up for $1 a month. And next Tuesday, it's a big day for me. I got my first ever book coming out. It's called The Program, A Curated History of Alabama Football. And also, next Tuesday, I have a very big story about Mal Moore and how he landed Nick Saban that I'm very proud of, that's coming out on The Athletic. So Tuesday is a big day for me.
Yeah, we can't wait, man, and we appreciate your time. We hope to have you back on to talk about it. But appreciate it, and have a great weekend, man.
All right, guys, take care.
All right, Aaron Suttle's with us. Let's get that final break in. Your tomorrow's headlines today.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Football season is here, and as always, the best place to catch every game is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill. Humphreys is celebrating by bringing back their game day football specials. $2.75 Miller Lite, Coors Light, Yingling, and $3.50 Yellowhammer Gold Pints. $4 Fireball shots. Anytime football is on. And don't forget Sunday brunch with Microwave Day. The best place to catch all the games all season long is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill.
If you're dealing with fatigue, low energy, and decreased performance at work or school, you may have insomnia. The professionals at Integrated Behavioral Health are experts in helping patients deal with insomnia.
I recommend IBH to anyone who is in need of mental health care. The practitioners are very professional, and they've treated me like a human rather than a case.
If you need help, contact Integrated Behavioral Health today. Call 855-422-1618. Integrated Behavioral Health in Madison and Decatur.
You want the right specialist for your recovery. At SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, we understand every body is different. Your muscles and bones are unique, as is your body. Our SportsMed specialists offer innovative treatments and minimally invasive procedures, allowing you to quickly return to the life you love. Locations in Huntsville, Madison, Athens, and Decatur, and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. Improving performance, improving lives.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life, more important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4-RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Normally, when you call a roofing company, all you hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Since 1965, the folks at Fleming have been focused on what you need, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement, commercial or residential. And when it comes to storm damage, you want Fleming on your side. They know all the ins and outs of insurance claims and will guide you through the entire process. Log on FlemingHSV.com and book your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Men, are you asking yourself questions like, why am I gaining fat? Why is my energy or sex drive down? And maybe you haven't been getting the exercise you need. If you want to get back to the man you used to be, but just don't have that youthful energy, that edge you once had, you very well might have low testosterone. Low T causes all kinds of issues, from a reduced libido, lower drive, and bad sleep patterns, to problems with muscle gain and bone density, and more. It may even contribute to erectile dysfunction. And if this sounds like you, it's probably time to get treated for your low T. At the Huntsville Men's Clinic, we've treated many men for low T. We've seen them put on muscle, add to their energy, improve their sex lives, get better sleep, and just feel better. Plus, if you're like most men, you'll see results in only a few weeks. So make an appointment today and experience how low testosterone therapy can truly change your life. Your initial appointment is only $99 with results in minutes. Call today, 256-368-0333. That's 256-368-0333. Or go to HuntsvilleMen'sClinic.com. That's HuntsvilleMen'sClinic.com.
At Bryant Bank, we believe your goals are worth chasing, and every step along the way is worth celebrating. From your hopes for the future to the challenges that keep you up at night, we're here for you. Bryant Bankers put care into action to help you live legendary by stepping up when you need us most and doing what's right even when no one is watching. Come experience a local bank whose people greet you by name and treat you like family. Bryant Bank, member FDIC.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Back Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. There was one college football game played last night, and it was a makeup game from this past Saturday because of Hurricane Ian, and that is Gus Malzahn and the UCF Knights. They hosted SMU last night, and they get a win, does UCF, 41-19. And so John Rice Plumlee in that one, 20 of 29, 316 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the night, the former Ole Miss quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. You had college football from last night.
And we're going to have high school football tonight, as you were telling everybody.
All kinds of games tonight.
Buckhorn's
going
and then
take
start the
on
show.
Lee. That's a big region game.
You'll hear that game on 97.7 The Zone. It'll be Steve Moulton and John McGough on the call.
Yeah, and the winner of that one really takes the inside track for that 4th and final spot in Class 6A Region 8.
Yeah, it's as the Czar has said earlier this week on the show, it's basically a playoff game.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
If you win it,
you
have the inside track.
Right. And if you lose it, you might be playing out the string.
Yes. There's other games going on across the country, across the state, and across North Alabama. Let's just keep things shorten that in. East Limestone going to host Lawrence County tonight. East Limestone, both of those teams off to slow starts as they're both still in search of their first region win. Brindley Mountain, J.B. Pennington. Brindley Mountain will host J.B. Pennington tonight. Westminster Christian Academy will host Madison County. And St. John Paul II will play host to New Hope.
That's a big game
tonight.
for New Hope to stay in the 4A Region 8 playoff race.
And Asbury will host Danville, and Plainview will host Sylvania.
Big
tonight.
Sand Mountain rivalry there.
Woodville, who you and I cruised